sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night's game had something for everyone. Bang, bang play at the plate. Clutch work by the bullpen, tremendous defense, and late dramatics by the home team. But in the end, it was the Indians who had the last word. Jason Kipnis stays red hot and roasted the Rangers in the ninth inning. The Tribe has now won back-to-back games for only the second time this season. Today, they go for their first sweep of the season. Next on Sports Time Ohio. On a cloudy day in Arlington, Texas, the Indians and the Rangers look to wrap up this three-game series, and it's the Indians who are in position for their first sweep of the year. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. I want to take you back to a moment this year on May the 7th. Indians were playing Kansas City at home. Jason Kipnis gets a routine ground ball to him, throws to first, and misses Carlos Santana by a good 20 feet. It was one of those moments where you had to shake your head and say, did that just happen? Well, it did. But since that moment, and maybe it's just coincidence, or maybe he was embarrassed and really ticked off, Jason Kipnis is hitting .571, and he's hitting everything in sight.
Well, he looks so comfortable at home plate. He's hitting everything in sight is right. The thing I like about Kip, not only is he getting base hits, last night in the ball game he had opportunities, man on second, nobody out. He moves the runners along, and then at the end of the day, he comes up with a big fly, the 19th home run given up by the Texas Rangers bullpen, and ends up winning the ball game. And when you look at his 8-game hitting streak, .571, this is little league numbers. But that reaching base 3 times in 7 straight games, with hits via walk or anything, he has been out there all day long making left-hand turns. It's actually quite fun to watch.
Well, he has truly carried this team offensively, and now they got a chance to go for the sweep. Carlos Carrasco will be on the hill for the Tribe. They could use a good start from him. We'll see if he gives it to them. We've got the play-by-play, the starting lineups, all of the action coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. at home to tie the game at 7. Michael Bourne delivers. Brantley going to watch this one leave the yard. And Kipnis launches one to deep right field. Goal into Souvenir City. And the Indians take the lead. Oh, Jason Kipnis destroyed that ball. All right, here in Arlington, the Indians and the Rangers ready to wrap up their weekend series. Tribe comes in 14-21. They're only one game under 500 on the road now this year. They've had their troubles at home, but boy, so have the Texas Rangers. Texas 5-13 so far this year at home. One of the worst home records in the American League. And Jason Kipnis and company looking for a 3-game sweep as they look to continue the offensive onslaught. We've seen Kipnis go 7 for 11 so far here in this series. Let's take a look right now at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Fast start. And for the Indians, getting out early, scoring in the first inning has been a real good formula for success. For Carlos Carrasco, keep that ball down.
Well, yeah, they've jumped out early in both games, and it's something that's been very good for the Indians, and they just kept battling and scoring. And hey, some more of that. They've beaten the Texas Rangers 8 straight times, so let's get after it and make it 9. They've got an opportunity for their first sweep today.
Texas takes the field behind right-hander Nick Martinez, and with that, we'll take a gander at Terry Francona's starting 9 for the Cleveland Indians, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis leading it off. David Murphy bats second. Michael Brantley will DH today and bat third. Lonnie Chisenhall gets the cleanup duties today. Brandon Moss hitting 5th. Nick Swisher in right field will bat 6th. Michael Bourne, Roberto Perez, and Jose Ramirez round it out.
Our Northern Ohio Honda dealer's starting pitcher for the day is Nick Martinez. He is 24 years old. The right-hander has really stepped it up last year, went into the rotation and did a very nice job. And he's out there off to a good start. He's 2-0 with a 188. But he's gone out there and he's left games where he has had the lead 3 times and tied one time. The bullpen gave it back, and his only start was his last start where he left the ball game trailing. But other than that, he's been a solid pitcher for the Rangers this year, and we'll see what he has to offer. He started this game here last year, the one where Chisenhall went 5 for 5.
Yeah.
He started that ball game. Let's check out the defense brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield, it's going to be DeShields, Martin, and Chu. And on the infield, it's Beltre, Andrus, Rosales, and Moreland. Chirinos is behind the plate.
Umpires this afternoon, David Arackley will call the balls and strikes. Rob Drake at first, Joe West, the crew chief, at second, and Gabe Morales down at third. And we're just about ready to go now as Jason Kipnis will lead it off for Cleveland. Another warm day in Texas, warm and windy. Jason Kipnis has moved up to 4th in the American League in batting average now, hitting .340. And Jason says, look, I know this isn't going to continue the whole season, but he said right now I feel balanced at the plate, seeing the ball well, putting a good swing on when it's in the strike zone.
Yeah, he's always behind the baseball. He's very comfortable. He's not doing too much. And balance, I think, is a good word. He's never out in front, and he's not missing a whole lot.
Kipnis bounces one toward first. That stayed fair.
Sure did. Went right over the bag.
One down. Window Systems game time temperature 76 degrees. But you see the humidity climbing. Well, we had some serious storms blow through here after the game last night. Rattled the hotel, didn't they? The walls
sure did. I heard Murph was underneath the bed. He was so scared.
There's David Murphy. I thought he always sleeps under the bed. Or maybe under the mattress.
I'll tell you, it did get a little loud last night, and it came down. We look all right today, though.
David Murphy lines one into center field for a base hit. I hope folks didn't think we were talking about David Murphy.
Right, it's our own Jim Murphy. But another nice swing here by the Murph dog, who lines it into center field. So he's into that number 2 hole. He gets it started with a base hit today.
He's now 3 for 5 in the series as Michael Brantley comes to the plate. Brantley now has pushed his way up to the 2nd spot in the American League in batting average. He did that with the big performance in the series opener and then held his spot last night. 4 for 6 with 3 doubles now in the series for Michael. Outside, ball 1. There you go as you take a look at the top batting average leaders. Prince Fielder.
How about Iglesias still up at the top of the board, huh? That's sort of a surprise, I would think.
He actually just moved into the top spot because I believe yesterday when we started play, Nelson Cruz was
yes,
leading
he was.
the league. Nick Martinez, 18th round pick of the Rangers out of Fordham University in the Bronx back in 2011. Last year, Nick Martinez was named the Rangers' 5th starter at the end of spring training, despite having never spent a day in big league camp. The pitch outside tells you they think a lot of him. It also tells you injuries derailed the Rangers early last year.
That is true. He had to step up, and you know, he came out and had the 2nd most starts on the team. He really went out there and earned it. He has a string of 13 consecutive starts of 3 earned runs or less.
Yeah, that's impressive going back to last August. 3-0 pitch, and that does catch the strike zone. Lonnie Chisenhall waiting on deck. Just underway here in Arlington. Murphy draws a throw, but not much of a lead. And the 3-1 pitch. High, ball 4. So a hit and a walk, and the Indians have 2 on with 1 out in the first. Lonnie Chisenhall coming to the plate.
Yeah, a chance to get on the board again here in the 1st inning. I don't know what it is. It just seems like Indians hitters enjoy hitting in this ballpark. We told you over the weekend that the infield is very fast. The ball seems to carry to right field. The wind always seems like it's blowing in, but it circles around, and it's a good ballpark to hit in.
Lonnie's big night last year here in Texas got started against Nick Martinez. As you pointed out, he had 2 hits, including a home run. I'm sure they both have recollections of that night.
Yeah, one more fond than the other.
And they're quite different recollections.
Yes, they are. Lonnie's bat from that game is in the Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact. Remember they picked that up last year after that night he had.
Inside, Martinez misses. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Nick Martinez is not overpowering. He's anywhere 88 to 90 with his fastball. He'll sink it, cut it, and that big slow curve is about 74. He's looking for a ground ball. Chisenhall's looking for a base hit.
And he pulls it foul past Sandy Alomar at first. Last year here in Texas, Lonnie Chisenhall hit everything in sight. Anything that was close.
Well, that's one of those nights you'll never have again, and you'll never forget it. That's just a special night. 9 ribbies, just a special night.
Wow, that almost hit him, and he somehow was able to twist out of the way. 2-2.
That shows you where Martinez believes I've got to go inside the Chisenhall to open up the outside part of the plate. He has to make him conscious, and Chisenhall knows that, so he's not backing off.
2 on, 1 out, and the 2-2 pitch. Fouled back. Now, one of the reasons Martinez has had success this year, even though he has just the 2 wins, but a 1.88 ERA, he has been able to pitch inside very effectively. And his slider and curveball have complemented the fastball exceptionally well this year.
Well, he has gotten no help from his bullpen.
No, he's left with the lead a few times. Up high, full count.
Yeah, three times he left with the lead. So he could easily have 5 wins. But he's having to work hard here in the first.
Boy, and that's been a theme so far in this series.
Yes, it has.
Big moment here in the first. Payoff pitch. And it's fouled out of play to the right.
Change up. Chisenhall way out in front of him. That's 82, 83 miles per hour, but you can see it had a lot of the plate. It's just that he took something off of him.
David Murphy at second, Michael Brantley at first. And again, the 3-2. Foul back into the seats.
Well, we got a good at-bat working right here. Nice little battle going on.
Well, this will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat. One more time, the 3-2. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Finally, he was able to take enough off that Chisenhall couldn't fight it off.
Well, he comes back in with the breaking ball. Slider down and in on the 3-2 pitch. He tried the changeup. He went fastball in. He went fastball away in this 9-pitch at bat. And he finally gets him to swing over the top of that slider down and in. That's on our Nissan pitch tracker. And that's very good pitch, located well.
Well, that's the pitch they tell me that's been effective for him. Sliders to the left-handers, curveballs to the right-handed batters. He got a slew of lefties in here today. Only one right-handed bat in the lineup for Cleveland. And when they roughed him up last year, I don't think they had a single right-handed.
You're right. They did not. They did not have a righty in the lineup. It was all left-handed.
But now looking for the 2-out hit from Brandon Moss.
That's something they've done early, too, in this series. Get a 2-out base hit to get him on the board, to let everybody else relax.
One ball, 1 strike for Brandon Moss. And a foul back.
This is the 5th time that Chirinos has been the catcher for Martinez on the year. Corcoran has caught 2 games. But he's had to work and use a lot of pitches here in the first inning. 22 total.
And another foul back over the screen.
That's an elevated fastball right there that, you know, you hope to get a swing and miss on, but it also can set up this next pitch. Would he throw that same one he threw to Chisenhall? That one he wanted it maybe a little bit higher. That was just above the belt. Borderline strike. That's one that would be tough to take if you're a hitter, especially in the first inning when you don't know what the strike zone is yet.
Martinez with a 1-2, and it's up high to even the count.
So it's back-to-back fastballs upstairs. You know he wants to get back to either that changeup or his slider. One of the two to change the eye level.
Shook him off a few times. Now the 2-2. And he strikes it out. Nick Martinez gets into trouble, gets himself out of a jam with back-to-back punch-outs. Now the Rangers are coming to bat. Homered and tripled last night. Delano DeShields second. Prince Fielder fifth in batting average now in the American League hits third. And it's Adrian Beltre, Mitch Moreland, Elvis Andrus. Leonis Martin, Adam Rosales gets to start at second base hitting eighth, and Robinson Chirinos will catch in bat ninth.
And the Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher Carlos Carrasco for the Tribe, making his eighth start. 28-year-older. His last start snapping a two-game winning streak. It was against St. Louis. He went 6 2/3, 10 hits, allowed 4 runs, left trailing in that game 4-0.
First pitch in there for a strike to Shin-Soo Choo.
For Carrasco, this is his first start against the Rangers since June 2nd of 2011. He had a couple of relief appearances last year. Must have been early. But as far as starting goes, not the case. 0-1 in his career. But now the Indians with a chance to come out here and earn a first sweep and put together a winning streak they haven't had this year. And boy, you want to see it happen right there at the circle in the middle of the diamond on the pitcher's mound. The Indians got a lot of runs early last night for Danny Salazar, and he was upstairs and made a lot of mistakes in the middle of the plate, and they just couldn't hold the lead. But they ended up winning the battle by outscoring them.
Did he go? He did. And that'll be a strikeout. Carlos Carrasco gets his first strikeout. Let's go down to Andre Knott.
Guys, for Carlos Carrasco, it's been an up-and-down season to say the least, but he's been better on the road than he's been at home. He's 3-1 with a 3.57 ERA on the road away from Progressive Field. Other thing to look at, lefties are hitting 193 versus him. Righties hitting 333. 5 of them in the lineup for the Rangers today.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. I don't know if it's that split change that we just saw there. But, you know, that's 7th against left-handed hitters, doing a great job. But the right-handers, 333 clip, that's 3rd highest among starters in the league. So that's hard to figure out because he has a nasty slider as well.
Delino to Shields, a swing and a miss.
Take a look at the strikeout by Chu. He started, couldn't hold up, and gets a call. And there it is, that split changeup.
He almost chased after it, but did not go. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Carrasco strikes out the first 2 to start the day.
Let's check out that Indians defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be David Murphy gets the start in left field. Bourne in center. Swisher makes his debut out in right field. Chisenhall at third. Ramirez at short. Kipnis at second. This is Moss' debut at first. Perez is behind the plate.
Here is Prince Fielder. Swings at the first pitch. Big bouncer to first base. Moss will flip it to Carrasco. And the Rangers go quickly. No score after 1. No score, second inning. Nick Swisher will lead it off for Cleveland. Swisher, Michael Bourne, and Roberto Perez due for the Tribe. Swisher swings and fouls that back out of play. Nick, 3 hits in the series opener, limited to just 1 pinch hit at bat last night. Had a pair of doubles, 3 ribbies in game 1.
Yeah, those hits coming from the right side of the plate.
Found that off of his foot. And it's 1-2. Nick Martinez, the Rangers starting pitcher today, didn't really think he was going to be a pitcher. He was an everyday player in high school, but it was his dad who insisted that he should take some pitching lessons. And so finally, as a senior in high school, he gave in and said, okay, I'll take some pitching lessons. And boy, did it turn out to be the best thing for him.
Look who he's got to thank now. You better thank Dad. Started late if he didn't start till his senior year.
He didn't really pitch much at Fordham. Primarily an infielder. Played second base. He pitched 26 innings of relief in his college career.
That's amazing.
But it just goes to show you when a scout sees something.
Well, he's a field pitcher, you know, nothing overpowering, and he's got that abbreviated windup, you know, like a lot of the pitchers do nowadays.
Just missed.
And relies on command, control, keeping you up the center of the bat. That's pitching. You know, you don't. It goes to show you don't have to throw 95 to 98 to win. Here, you can pitch. You can change speeds. That's the art of pitching.
And the payoff. Oh, he chased one in the dirt. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Nick Martinez. One down here in the second.
Well, he didn't. Obviously, you see that ball down in front of the plate, and that feeble swing there. That is the 3rd straight strikeout.
And up comes Michael Bourne. A couple of hits, including a double in the series. Adrian Beltre already camped in on the grass at third. One and one. That's in the air to center field. It's going to get down for a base hit. Martin cuts it off, holds Bourne to a 1-out single here in the second. Time for the Buick stat of the game. Most runs in the month of May. The Indians are creeping up. And how about the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, they were hot when they were in Cleveland. That's for sure. I like seeing the Indians starting to get hot and starting to score some runs. That's what, you know, needed to happen.
Kansas City has jumped out in front of New York 4-0 in the 4th inning at Kauffman Stadium. Tampa Bay leads Minnesota 2-1. They're in the 5th at Target Field. Cardinals and Tigers will be the late game later tonight. Runner goes, and Perez fouling it out of play.
Well, here's a guy that's pretty quick to home plate, so it looks like Tito wants, you know, with Perez struggling, start the runner, make him put the ball in play, make him stay on the ball and try and hit it to right field, especially with 1 out. But when you're struggling, a lot of times a manager will push the envelope and try and get something going, create a hole for you, hoping.
Bourne not running, and the pitch is inside. 1-1. Mike Sarbaugh runs through the signs over at third. Bourne intently studying him. Perez digs back in. Drawing a throw. Bourne pulled again, and the pitch off speed up high. 2-1.
Okay, another nice count now in a situation where he's going to want to throw a strike. You may see Borney take off again. Not that you want to do it, but I mean, you give the signs over there, and first base coach comes up and tells Borney. I mean, this guy is pretty quick to home plate, so he'd be tough to steal on. That's why you have to start the runner. But Borney, for me, hasn't run like he should. If his legs are better, he worked on them in the offseason. He's got to be off and running at the bottom part of that lineup if he's hitting 7th now to make things happen.
He has just 2 steals. He's been caught twice.
He doesn't get a big lead.
He's running. Swing and a miss.
And he's swinging.
And he's out.
I mean, we'll show you the lead that he had and by how much he's thrown out by. He's got to increase that lead over there, but that was more like a hit and run. Trying to protect. And you get the 2-1 count. We saw it coming. We saw it coming. No big deal.
Good pitch to hit, too.
He swings through it. You've got to try and put in play. That's just how right now Perez is swinging the bat.
Yeah, you can see Bourne looking back.
Yeah, you look back, but you've got to get a bigger lead. This guy's been a premier base stealer in the National League for a while, but he just doesn't run anymore.
And the 2-2 to Perez is low and away. Full count. Is it instinctual base stealing, or is it pure speed?
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's getting a feel. You have a feel for the game. Bourne's stolen so many bases. He knows what it takes. That wasn't a stolen base, by the way. That was a hit and run.
Right.
So that's on the hitter. But I mean, I expected him to run a lot more than he has this year. Especially he worked so hard at getting his legs in shape. And now when I see him and I watch him at first base, he doesn't get a big lead over there. It's almost like he's comfortable staying going one base at a time or going first to third. For him to be successful in this team, he's got to start running.
He didn't go, and it's a walk for Perez. Keeps the inning alive. And it will bring up Jose Ramirez.
Well, Live Indians Baseball is back in 2015 with the MLB.com ad bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Jose Ramirez takes a strike. He's only 1 for 7 in the series, but he has scored 4 runs, 3 of those last night. As Terry Francona said, look, the thing about Ramirez, he puts a charge into a ball, pretty deep right field, but back on the warning track, Chu makes the catch to end the inning. No runs, a hit, and a man left. We'll go to the bottom of the second, scoreless in Texas. It features Adrian Beltre, where he ranks among the active players. See at the bottom his career average, 4 times a Gold Glover, 4 times an All-Star. Now that he's sitting at 400 career home runs, it begs the question, where does he sit in terms of the potential Hall of Fame discussion?
Well, he's been around a long time. He's going to play for a couple more years, so he's one or two away from 1,400 ribbies. You know, the home runs are there, the defense is there. He's been a solid player for the last decade.
Here's an interesting note from MLB.com. Beltre is one of only 4 players to spend at least 75% of his career at third base and accumulate 400 home runs.
You know, the interesting thing, look at him dancing in that box.
The others are Eddie Matthews, Hall of Famer.
Right. Brooks.
Chipper Jones.
He's dancing his way in that box.
And Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt, Eddie Matthews, and Chipper Jones.
Well, when you look at the third basemen that are in the Hall of Fame, his numbers are right there with all of them. And offensively, his numbers are probably better than some of them.
Well, just in that small group right there, you figure Chipper Jones is a Hall of Famer, right?
Right. Yes.
And then you've got Mike Schmidt and Eddie Matthews. I'd say he's got a pretty strong argument already, and he's not done yet.
Right. He's going to go another few years. And you'd like to see him do that and play at this caliber.
He's got a leadoff single, first hit for Texas. And now Mitch Moreland to the plate. Right back to the screen. Hit hard to right field. Swisher's going to watch it hit the top of the fence. Stays in the park. Into third is Beltre, and he'll stop there. And now Beltre's going to come home because Kipnis couldn't field a throw from Swisher cleanly. And Texas takes a 1-0 lead.
Well, that ball, it just missed going out. It hit right at the top of the padding. And there's about a little lip up there where it comes back into play. Looked like it was out of here, but it hits the top of the padding. And watch it bounce out. And I mean, just barely missed it. Here comes Swisher, gets it back in a hurry. Let's see what happens in the transfer. It was sort of a tough hop. It's short hop, and it's been wet here. That ball jumped up. He missed his cutoff man, I will say that. But Kipnis, with the way it was, couldn't field it cleanly. Beltre kept his eye on the play and ends up scoring. Watch it, ball check up. It's from the outfield with all the rain.
Now, this isn't, I don't think this is a challenge.
Well,
you
it
can
wasn't
just
a
ask
home
him
run.
to look at it.
Well, that's okay. They can go look at it. It's not a home run. I want to see the throw
This
coming
will just
into
be an
Kipnis.
umpire review, but it's not going to be any different than what we had, which is a runner at second base on the double. So Texas has the lead 1-0 here in the second inning. This shouldn't take long. And it won't. Here's your decision. Ball stands. Double. And again, that's not a challenge.
Right.
That's just where you ask the umpire, and the umpire decides if or not he wants to review it. He said he'd take a look at it. Joe West said, we'll take a look at it. It clearly hit right on the top of the fence. What happened on the throw from Swisher to Kipnis was a little hard to tell on the angle. It looked like, you know, it was a one-bounce throw, but he just didn't.
But the ball sort of checked up on him. It wasn't, you know, it's wet. The outfield is wet from all the rain last night, and it looked like it just checked up. So the error will go to Swisher to allow Beltre to score. I mean, I didn't get a good look at it, but watch it. I don't know if this is going to do us any justice as it comes in. I don't know. He didn't get to the cutoff man. But anyway, that enabled Beltre to score, so it's another error.
Elvis Andrus, the Rangers shortstop.
That's the 5th error in this series for the Indians.
And a strike call. Tries to bunt, fouled it back.
Andrus is normally a good bunter as well. He does everything well, but it looked like there, more than the sacrifice, he was just trying to lay it down for a base hit to me.
Mitch Moreland, the runner at second base. Nobody out here in the second. To center, Bourne coming in, makes the grab, and Moreland retreats to second. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. Wow. It seemed to come out of nowhere. Mike Redmond fired as Miami falls to 16 and 22 on the year.
That tells me that they wanted them fired earlier because they started that when they got off to a slow start through their first 2 weeks of the season. They were playing better. So he's gone, huh?
Red Dog, huh? Leonis Martin, 0 for 4 last night after he missed 7 of the previous 11 games with a left wrist sprain that's been bothering him. 1-1 to count. To left field, over near the line. Murphy moving in toward the corner, makes the catch. And the runner Moreland holds at second, 2 away. It's going to bring up Adam Rosales. His first appearance in the series. Carlos Carrasco at 25 pitches, 16 4 strikes. This will be the 25th. Swinging a foul back. Bullseye. Carrasco ahead now, 1-2. With 2 outs in this second inning. Rangers with a run in to take the lead. A little bit low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I guess this is what you would call a typical Sunday crowd. You swear we were at a golf match right now.
Oh, they'll wake up. They're used to seeing offense here. Not many day games down here in the state of Texas, my friend. We're lucky.
That's true.
This is our first getaway day during the day in a long time. No, he didn't.
Full count.
I tell you, Perez asked an awful lot on check swings. I mean, you look at the side look and nope.
It was close, though.
It was closer than I thought.
Now the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. 3rd strikeout for Carrasco. Rangers, though, grab the lead 1-0 after 2. Jason Kipnis has been absolutely locked in. He's reached base 3 times safely in 7 consecutive games.
Not an easy thing to do.
Grounded out his first time up today. And he hit him. Oh, boy. Kipnis drilled again as he takes his base.
We watched that first time through the lineup. There were a couple of pitches in there, one to Chisenhall, one to Moss. That you said he has to pitch inside to be successful. That one gets him right on the thigh, wanting to go inside. Take your base. Oh, he's on for the first time.
Kipnis was hit twice in a game recently against St. Louis before the Indians began this road trip. So the leadoff man is aboard for David Murphy, who singled his first time up. Murphy now 3 for 5 against the Rangers in this series.
Well, he should feel comfortable in this ballpark, playing a number of years here. Enjoyed it. His family is in town from Houston to watch him, and getting a chance to see him over the weekend. Oh, it's nice he's in the lineup. Today he's hitting second. Got a base hit his first at bat.
Added cleanup last night.
It's almost like a quick pitch there.
Chirino's going to go out for a chat. Almost looks like he's rushing on that slide step.
Now that'll happen. You know, you look at a base runner, maybe not that he's stealing, but he's paying maybe too much attention, and you rush that delivery a little bit, and you're up and out of the strike zone. To the left-handers, at least. Your arm doesn't catch up because you're moving forward too quickly.
So it's 3-0 for Murphy with Kipnis already at first. Brantley waiting on deck. Ball 4. So he hits Kipnis and walks Murphy on 4 straight, and the inning is set up for the Tribe as Mike Maddox makes the first of who knows how many trips to the mound here today. Tribe takes on the Cincinnati Reds next Saturday at Progressive Field. You can save on tickets, lower reserve, lower box by May 18th, and you'll save 19%. It's a 4 o'clock start, and the Indians will honor my partner Rick Manning on the 40th anniversary of his major league debut. We'll be wearing the red jerseys. So
red tops from 75. 10,000 fans will receive it. That'll be a good day.
Come on out and help celebrate.
Matty, do you have the red shoes or anything you can wear? We've got to discuss this.
Might have to look for some red shoes.
Well, I don't know if we should buy them. Maybe
some red dancing shoes.
Yeah. Go see if Beltre's got any the way he was dancing in the batter's box.
I'm going to stop short with the no red pants, though.
No. I'd go no pants before red pants.
Lance, no pants. All right, 2 on, nobody out. Michael Brantley trying to bring the Indians right back. And he takes a strike. Brantley checks on a ball that's low. He didn't go. And now we're at 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul back into the seats. Well, Martinez gets ahead 1-2.
Now, a lot of times though, when you're facing this guy, you're ahead 1-2. You're not really ahead. He's right at home with 2 strikes. He's that good of a hitter.
And boy, that came close. I thought it hit him, but he got out of the way.
But you see, that's what he has to do. You're right. That's about the 3rd or 4th time, and it's early in the game where they just spin out of the way. But he has to pitch in there and make him conscious of the inside part of the plate, or you get the left-handers leaning out over.
Yeah.
And it's all left-handers in there except one.
Down and in. And as you pointed out, Rick, he went from 1-2 to 3-2. Boom, just like that.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like, okay, I've got Brantley down 1-2. It doesn't matter. It's like a 3-2 pitch to him.
Now Michael walked his first time up. 2 on, nobody out. Here's the 3-2 to Brantley. Time called as Martinez might have been unnerved a little bit by Kipnis at second. He was dancing.
Well, this is really a big decision if you start your runners here 3-2, because Brantley, the toughest guy in baseball, to strike out. But you got a left-hander at the plate. It's a clear path for Chirinos to throw to third. So, you know, it's a tough call. And I think that's why he's holding the ball. That little fake spin. That's another play they got to take out of baseball. That spin to second base. I don't like it at all.
Just fake throws in general. You want to step off?
No, you just make him step off the rubber and throw to second.
Strikes him out. Boy, oh boy, he has made some big pitches when he's needed to.
That's a big changeup right there to get Brantley. That's been his money pitch, Matt, and I'm telling you, that's why he's going inside. It's got that little downward action going down and away to the lefties, and so that fastball inside really sets that pitch up. And it's not like a 10 or 12 mile an hour difference from his fastball. It's about 6 or 7. So the arm speed has got to be exactly like his heater.
Well, the Indians had 2 on, 1 out in the first, and he punched out Chisenhall and Moss back to back to get out of trouble. 2 on, nobody out here in the third. He strikes out Brantley, and now here's Chisenhall. He throws it into center field. There was nobody there. And down to third goes Kipnis. Into second is Murphy. Well, Martinez spun around that time, and he did throw it, and there was nobody there.
Yeah, well, that's communication breakdown. Look at him look at Andrus. He was thinking that a play was on, and he's not that far off. And
I think it shocked Kipnis as much as anybody.
Again, now with 1 out, you're doing the Indians a favor. You throw that ball, you move the runners up, you take the double play out of order, and you bring the infield in. The Indians take it.
Jason's going back to the bag, and all of a sudden he sees the ball going into center field. Must wonder what in the world. Now they back the infield up.
Yeah.
They brought him in. Now they back him up.
That makes sense, because if you get a little flare, you know, if the infield's in on the grass and you get a little flare, you get 2 runs. If you don't, you have a tie ball game, you know, and you still have a double play in order. It's early in the game, and you figure you're going to score.
One ball, 1 strike.
I mean, Martinez was the only one. Maybe he put it on in his own mind, and nobody else saw it because nobody was covering. Kipnis didn't think anybody was there, so as a base runner, you don't expect anything.
You're not expecting a throw to come.
Yeah, it's a good thing it didn't hit him again.
Popped him up on the infield. 2 down. On a 1-1 pitch.
Well, it's a changeup, and you get aggressive, and boy, they gave him an opportunity right there to tie it up and couldn't take advantage of it. So we'll see if Moss can do it now with 2 outs. He had an opportunity back in the first inning, ended up being a strikeout victim.
Swings at a ball out of the strike zone. 0-1.
Another changeup. Boy, the left-handers may have to, you know, and I know a lot of hitters don't make adjustments in the batter's box throughout the course of the game with a guy like this, but as many changeups as he's throwing to these guys, maybe they want to move up a little bit in the box and force him to throw that pitch there, you know, and take that changeup away. This is that fastball inside. This time he hits with it. It comes back a little bit. The other ones have been staying in.
Well, you can see Moss react in the batter's box. He was angry that he let that one get by.
Yeah, because you're looking for another good changeup.
And it's now 0-2. Breaking ball down and in. Second and third, 2 down. Indians down a run here in the third inning. And the 1-2 pitch. Moss sends a fly ball to left field. Back goes to Shields and makes the catch. Well, the Indians had a golden opportunity right here in the third inning, and it fizzles out. 1-0 Texas. Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Robinson Chirinos will lead off here in the third inning for Texas. Chirinos was originally signed by the Cubs back in 2000. He was no overnight sensation. He spent a long time in the minor leagues.
He had the big hit in the 8th inning last night to give him a lead, 8-7, until the Indians came back. He had 3 hits last night.
Nothing like the night he had on Memorial Day in 2009 with the Daytona Cubs. He hit 2 grand slams.
Oh boy, that's a night to remember.
Only the second player in the 91-year history of the Florida State League to do it. The first in half a century. But again, that gives you an idea. I mean, he was drafted in 2000, and in 2009 he was in the Florida State League. So it took him a long time. Yeah, it took him a long time, obviously, to make the transition to the catching position, and fouled right back. Then again, when he signed, originally he was only 16 years old. Swing and a miss. Carlos Carrasco has struck out 4 of the first 9 Texas Rangers hitters here today.
Let's make this our Circle K strikeout today. Another pitch going down in the zone. You get a hitter to swing over the top of it. See, he turns that one over. Little change.
Shin-Soo Choo struck out his first time up. Takes a strike. Foul right back. The Indians traded Shin-Soo Choo to the Cincinnati Reds in that three-way trade involving Arizona back after the 2012 season, in which the Tribe got Trevor Bauer, Drew Stubbs, Brian Shaw, Matt Albers. Just missed. 2-2. Choo only spent that 1 year with Cincinnati and hit .285. Bounced in front of the plate. Full count. And he signed a big contract here in Texas. But only batted .242 a year ago with 13 homers and 40 runs batted in. Payoff pitch. He walks him. A rare walk allowed by Carrasco, only the 9th he's given up this year against 46 strikeouts. And now over 37 innings of work this year. Time for our injury report, brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. Smattering of guys all across the board. There's Delino DeShields, struck out his first time up. Showing bunt takes. Delino DeShields' dad is the manager in Louisville right now for the Bats. As he bunts this one fair, third base. Chisholm's throw just in time as DeShields is retired for out number 2.
Well, you don't have time to dally when he hits the ball, because he can get down the line. He puts his head down, and that's just part of his game. And right there, he's on his way down. If they get him, I don't know if they gave him a sacrifice there with one out. You know how they score nowadays. We'll see.
They did score to sacrifice, at least according to the scoreboard. Now I'm told no sacrifice, so the scoreboard is wrong. Shocker.
Sunday day game after night game.
2 down. Here's Prince Fielder. Fielder, a bouncing ball to first base. His only time up. Now he pops one up foul ground. Is it playable? Perez over to the dugout. No. Prince Fielder, along with Jason Kipnis and Jose Altuve, began the day tied for the most hits in the American League, each with 50 so far this year.
Well, let's see.
So even with my limited math skills, if those 3 guys are at 50, shy of the quarter-mile marker, they got a chance for 200 hits, all 3 of them.
Well, very good, Matt. But I'm thinking about it, you say him and Altuve in the same breath. Altuve may get some infield hits. This guy's not going to get them. He has to earn them all. But I will say this, he hustles down the line every time he hits a ball.
Bourne got a bad break, and it's going to drop for an RBI hit.
Oh, was he fooled on that pitch?
Sure was. He broke back initially, and that allows the ball to fall. Fielder drives home Choo, 2-0 Texas.
Well, let's take a look and see if we can see it from above. There's the big swing. Yeah. He took a step back and hesitated until he could pick it up, and then never got it restarted again. So that'll go as a base hit and an RBI, and it was just a little too late. And with him at the plate, when he takes a swing like he does, you can be fooled as an outfielder like that, but your first instinct would be back. Well, his was, but he could never make up the time. So give Fielder another RBI. It's 23. And it's 2-0 Texas.
Swing and a miss. Beltre chases one and strikes out to end the inning. 5th strikeout for Carrasco. But it's Texas with a 2-0 lead through 3 innings.
Jersey. That'll be courtesy of Shears. That'll take place Saturday. The Indians will take on the Reds, and unique red jerseys worn by Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Buddy Bell back in the day. So visit Indians.com for your ticket details.
There's Nick Swisher, struck out in his only time up. Swing and a miss. And quickly 0-2. Swisher drives one to center field. On the run, Martin makes the catch. One down.
Well, he tried to sneak a fastball by him, but, you know, in that situation, he had him looking badly on the first 2 off-speed pitches. He comes in and throws the fastball, and Martin runs it down for the out.
Michael Bourne, a single his first time up. And the pitch outside for ball one. To left field, and a routine play for DeShields, 2 down. Gear up for the second annual Velosano Bike Ride for Cancer Research, July 17th through the 19th. There's an option for everyone with 6 different routes that start and finish in downtown Cleveland, including 1- and 2-day rides. Every dollar raised by Velosano participants benefits cancer research at Cleveland Clinic, so spread the word and bike to cure. Get involved. Visit velosano.org. 2 down for Roberto Perez. And a ground ball single into center field. The Indians yet to be retired in order here today as Perez keeps the inning alive now for Jose Ramirez. Terry Francona applauded the effort of Ramirez by hustling down the line, beating out a double play ball, keeping rallies alive. And as I mentioned, even though he has 1 hit in the series, he's been able to score 4 runs.
A couple of stolen bases paid off big yesterday. In those at-bats after he steals a base, he was on with nobody out, and then Kipnis, being the leadoff hitter, moved him over 2 times in a row, gave himself up.
Two down here in the 4th. Lays off. It's low, 3-1. Caught the outside corner, full count.
Yeah, if you're a hitter in this situation on a 3-1 count with Kipnis on deck, 2 outs, you know you're going to get a fastball. That was a generous strike.
Roberto Perez will be off at first. Foul back. Guy tried to catch that ball and knocked him right back into his seat.
He's
right in the chest.
Took it in the chest and the hands, but he still made the catch and gave it to his son. Had a way to stay with him, get the body in front of it. He was not letting that ball get past.
Good job, Dad. Again, the 3-2. Perez will be off. And another foul ball. Oh, nice grab. 2-hand grab by the man in the Cubs hat.
I'll tell you what, the fans, they're ready to go today.
They're quiet, but they brought their mentally they're staying in the game.
Defensively, they're playing very well.
Here goes Robinson Chirinos out to the mound.
Well, they don't want to walk him, because you have Kipnis on deck. Catcher's thinking one way, pitcher's thinking of another. He may want to throw him a 3-2 changeup or something to see if he has him out front. They got to talk about it. They want to end this inning right here with this guy. You do not want to see Jason Kipnis walk to the plate with an opportunity with 2 men on.
One more time, the 3-2.
Change up. Foul it off. Boy, that's where you see he was back enough. It's not a bad pitch to hit.
Ramirez sends a fly ball to right field. Chu on the move will make the catch. No runs ahead, a man left. In the middle of the fourth, it's 2-0 Texas. Bringing you all the highlights from the Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. Tips to improve your game and much more. It's the Golf Zone with Jimmy tonight at 8 on Sports Time Ohio.
Gets to talk about Rory McIlroy today if he holds on to win that one. How about a 61 yesterday? The young man shot.
I don't think it's much of an if.
Well, he's got what, 4? He's got a 4-shot lead with about maybe 5 or 6 to go.
Maybe if he forgets where the first hole is, they've got a shot.
Oh, he didn't do that. He's 20 under at this point.
Mitch Moreland doubled off the top of the wall in right field in the second inning. That led to the Rangers' first run.
Oh, nice pitch.
There was an error involved, but I suppose it became a moot point because Andrus, the next man up, flied to center, and that probably would have gotten Beltre home from third anyway.
Yeah, yes.
Swung out and missed. Softly hit toward left. David Murphy's there, and that's out number 1. This was in the second. Moreland driving one to deep right. Literally hit the top of the fence, stayed in. And Swisher's throw on a one-hop to Kipnis, but Jason just couldn't come up with it, and Beltre kept on going.
Well, as a base runner, he did the right thing. You look out and find the baseball. And then he was able to restart. That was the first run. Although, as you mentioned, he would have scored anyway with the next 2 fly balls, either one.
Elvis Andrus takes a strike. to left field. Murphy is going to make the grab, 2 away.
Well, we're heading to Chicago tomorrow for a 4-game series, and when we return home from that on Friday night, it'll be Dollar Dog Night. Cincinnati Reds are coming into town for a weekend series, and then the fans will enjoy their first post-game fireworks show following. So that ought to be a fun weekend series. This year, you know, we get to play the Reds on the weekend in Cleveland and in Cincinnati, and last year we never played them on the weekend, if you remember.
Makes it a much more enjoyable series, I think, for the fans. I mean, for the players, it doesn't matter when you play them.
Right.
But for the fans, it's nice to be able to take the weekend. Cleveland fans can go down to Cincinnati and vice versa.
Right. Well, that's true, and it makes it fun. And if you're a Cleveland fan and you go down to Cincinnati, it'll be following the All-Star break.
That's right.
And that's where the All-Star game will be held.
It's a beautiful time of the year in Cincinnati. If you like to sweat. It doesn't get more humid in the middle of July in Cincinnati. I remember one year going there during interleague play, and it rained so hard you couldn't see across the field. Leonis Martin draws a walk with 2 outs to keep the inning alive.
Yes, but you'll get there with the Montgomery ribs. You know, Jesse will bring him into the booth for us, and he knows.
Skyline chili dogs, my friend. Adam Rosales struck out his only time up in the second. First 2 games of this series were played with a lot of action and a lot of scoring early in games. Today's game has just been sort of a lethargic pace. The Rangers have 2 runs, but both of them almost felt like gift runs. Well, the Indians have had opportunities, but haven't been able to cash in.
Don't worry. There's not many games played here like this throughout 9 innings. I've seen 6-inning games, 1-0, 2-0, right around there, and then all of a sudden the last 3 innings. A lot can happen.
The lid gets blown off. Rosales fouls one off to the right. Keeping a close eye on Martin, who has 6 steals this year, with twice being caught. Close pitch, just a bit high. 1-2. White Sox have jumped out in front of Oakland 1-0 in the first. Out in Oakland, Indians will head to Chicago to open a 4-gamer with the White Sox tomorrow. Chopper to short. Ramirez on the big hop will flip it to Kipnis to end the inning. 4 complete. Texas 2, Cleveland 0. dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
A little brisket, Arch?
Why not?
Oh, boy.
Our great clip of the game from last night, Jason Kipnis killed the Rangers with a home run. Gave the Indians the win. Their first this year when trailing after 8. Big slow hook. Haven't seen many of those. He's been a master of the changeup here today.
He's had a great changeup today. That's been his pitch of the day. There it was right there. The movement going down. He has great movement. He's thrown it a lot to the left-handers. That has been his calling card.
In the dirt. Tried to bring the fastball back over the inside corner, but didn't move enough.
No, it's got to be a changeup here, doesn't it? That's been his pitch. If I'm a hitter now, is what I've watched him do today. It's got to be a changeup.
Wow! Somehow he just got a piece of that one.
It was down. I don't know if it was out of the strike zone because it moves down even more after it gets there. It might have been a ball, but too close to take. Got to come back with it again.
Outside, he missed. And another leadoff man aboard for Cleveland. It was Kipnis who got aboard to start the third when he was hit by a pitch, but he was stranded at third. Our AT&T U-verse rewind, the changeup of Martinez.
Yeah, just watch the way the Cleveland hitters react to it. It's always down. It's always going away. And it's an easy pitch to pop up if you get out in front. You can't get enough on it. That's why I'm saying if hitters make an adjustment, maybe move up in the box. Be a little easier to get to. There's another. But when you see it, and you know these hitters know it's coming, it has to be that good because they continue to swing and miss at it.
Base hit in the right field by David Murphy. Kipnis hits second and he'll hold there. So David Murphy has been on base all 3 times today. His second hit. And again, the Indians have an inning set up to do some damage offensively.
Well, there's the breaking ball. That was a hanging curveball that Murphy kept his hands back enough. Pulls it into the hole. So the table is set. You're back into the middle part of your lineup. They had the table set like this back in the 3rd inning. And then it was the next 3 hitters that couldn't do anything. We'll see what happens this time. Maybe the Indians can get on the board and cash in.
Going back to yesterday's game, that's 5 straight plate appearances in which David Murphy has reached safely. Now he's got it set up for Michael Brantley. Brantley struck out on a 3-2 changeup that was a thing of beauty if you're Nick Martinez back in the 3rd. It was a thing of horror for the Indians because you thought, man, this is a guy you went up, clutch spot early. You don't see Brantley swing and miss very often at all. He drives this one to center field. Martin won't get it. He's going to one-hop the fence. Around third is Kipnis. Murphy is going to be stopped right at third base. So the Indians are on the board. It's a 2-1 ball game as Brantley doubles for the 13th time this year. And it gives him 22 runs batted in on the season. That ball was smoked.
Well, he finally got a fastball to his liking. He plugs a gap in right center field. Up against the wall. It was a really good relay. I thought they might send Murphy here, but when you watch the relay coming in, Kipnis comes in. It's a nice one-hop throw by Rosales. So they have him at second and third. That's our McDonald's. I'm loving it. So the Indians are on the board. They cash in finally in the 5th inning.
Mike Maddox out to the mound for the second time today. 3 straight reaching here in the 5th. Just look at Ramirez. He's a changeup, changeup, changeup. That's all they've seen is changeups throughout the day. Let's go back down to Andre.
I had a chance to talk to Lonnie Chisenhall about that great 9 RBI game that he had the last time we were here in Texas.
I just knew I was feeling good that night. I didn't know, how many RBIs I was going to get, and, how many hits you're going to end up with, where you're going to end up as far as records are concerned. But, you just know that you're feeling good that night, and you keep swinging the bat, and good things happen.
Pops this one back, and behind the plate, it's caught by Chirinos. 1 away. He's had a rough day.
Well, yeah, the second time he had an opportunity to drive in a runner from third, and it was an easy pop-up. They get the first out.
Second and third, and now 1 out for Brandon Moss. He does what he did his last time out. The Indians tie the game. He drove one to deep left field. Down in the dirt. Murphy, the tying run at third base. Brantley, the go-ahead run at second base. Activity in the Texas bullpen as Martinez is closing in on that 100 pitch mark. Another swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Left-hander Sam Freeman getting loose. And Moss strikes out again. 2 down.
You can see the pressure right there. He was just trying too hard. Ends up swinging and missing. He's had a tough day. He's had opportunities all day long to drive Nick. Chisenhall has too. And he gets him with the high fastball. He took a fastball first pitch, got the changeup, he swung and missed, and then swung and missed the high fastball. Boy, they can't let this guy off the hook again, can they?
Well, the only guy that stands between that happening is Nick Swisher, who has struck out and flied to deep center. Ball 1 down and in. Low, 2-0. Now they're just going to put him on. And so I guess left-handed hitter coming on deck. Does he go to the bullpen right here with the bases loaded?
No, I don't think so. This guy, he's proven he can get guys out with runners in scoring position.
Then why walk Swisher?
Well, I don't know, force out. The bullpen has been terrible for the Rangers. They've been giving up a lot of runs. It's way too early. Look at Martinez, and he's got 96 now. He got himself into it. You got to give him a chance to get himself out. He's been able to get Chisenhall and Moss. Why they choose to walk Swisher there, I don't know. That you're going to have to ask him intentionally. Because I would have went at Swisher with nothing but changeups and let him see if he gets swings. But there's no room for error. Let's see how he goes about it. It's going to be Bourne now that gets a chance with 2 outs.
Michael singled in the second, fly to left in the fourth. Takes a strike. First pitch curveball to Bourne for a strike. Now the 0-1. Just off the outside corner with that changeup.
Yeah, he wanted a swing there.
Outside again. So now the count tips in favor of Bourne with the bases loaded. Everything has been away in this at bat so far.
Change up count.
Pulls it, and it just went foul. And I mean by inches.
You're right, going down the line. Watch Moreland come back. And it just sneaks by the bag. He wanted to jump over the bag. They needed it to hit the bag and deflect into foul territory.
55 of 100 pitches have been strikes today for Nick Martinez, but the story is how he has been able to get Indians hitters to flail away at his changeup. How many times that pitch has actually been in the strike zone? Probably a lot different than total strikes thrown. The 2-2. The appeal, he did not go full count. It's the only pitch he showed him in this at bat.
Yeah, he's going back to his changeup down and away. You think about it, and Bourne didn't even come close that time. That's maybe his little slider down and in, but here comes his bread and butter, his changeup. Something's got to give.
Everybody moves on the 3-2 pitch. And he fouled it, and Chirinos couldn't hold it.
Just gets a piece to stay alive. Straight down. Let's re-rack it. Do it again.
Murphy at third, Brantley at second, Swisher at first. They're moving on the 3-2 to Bourne. Strike 3 called. He took a fastball right down the slot. Nick Martinez gets out of a bases loaded jam. Indians get on the board. They trail it 2-1. the White Sox begins tomorrow night. Indians live at 7:30. Every pitch from U.S. Cellular Field at 8 here on Sports Time Ohio. Corey Kluber and Chris Sale will be the matchup tomorrow night. Carlos Carrasco with the first pitch strike. So far, the story of the game, the Indians have left 9 men on base. The Rangers have had 5 base runners. Opportunities have gone by the board.
Boy, have they ever.
Indians haven't been able to adjust to Nick Martinez and that changeup. Maybe now that they'll get into the bullpen, that'll change.
Yes, hopefully it will.
Pitch outside. Robinson Chirino struck out his only time up. Popped him up. The shortstop Ramirez. One away. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. Rangers scored in the second on this ball that Mitch Moreland hit off the top of the wall. Beltre came around after the misplay. And then a little bloop that fell in center for an RBI hit, made it 2-0 in the third. Michael Brantley's RBI double got the Tribe on the board in the 5th, but holy mackerel. They had a great opportunity there to at least tie the game.
Yeah, one in, second and third, nobody out. And he was able to get out of it.
But to Nick Martinez's credit, he's done a fantastic job of maintaining that poise and conviction in his pitches.
Yeah, he hasn't given in, that's for sure.
Tampa trouncing the Twins today 8-1. They're in the 8th at Target Field. Royals shutting out New York in the 8th inning in Kansas City 6-0. Chu waves at a ball in the dirt. He strikes out 2 down. That's a half dozen Ks for Carrasco.
Yeah, you see that ball going down. He just couldn't hold up. Not a very good swing. It was a good pitch by Carrasco, that's for sure.
About the Houston Astros, they've won 5 in a row, beat Toronto again. Blue Jays have lost 5 straight. Astros lead the American League West. Delino to Shields 0 for 2 on the day. White Sox lead Oakland 1-0. They're in the 3rd now. Out at the Coliseum. Nothing in 2 to count on the speedster. Out of play to the right. Carrasco with a 1-2. Popped him up. Bourne makes the catch. And for the second time today, the Rangers go 1-2-3. 5 complete. Texas 2, Cleveland 1. He's an old school. Watch this windup.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Well, it's been a while because the last time he was in the majors was back in 2003, September 18th. It was against Atlanta. So that's why it's old school. They made the roster move today, calling him up. He was at Round Rock at AAA. So for Nick Martinez, he ended up going 5 innings, gave up 5 hits to 1 run, walked 5, struck out 6. And that streak will continue. Well, he is not allowed more than 3 runs or less, but he only going 5 innings, threw a lot of pitches today.
Now Roberto Perez to lead it off. He has walked and singled today. Shows bunt, takes a strike. Breaking ball misses outside. Swung at a ball that wasn't even close to that thing. Ohlendorf came up with this windup when he returned to the big leagues in 2013. He said it gives him the rhythm, helps him stay loose. It definitely is different. And he strikes him out. 7th strikeout for Twins pitchers, 1 down there in the 6th.
Comes back with a little breaking ball. He didn't want to swing at it because he chased the one to pitch before that, except that was a strike that time.
In the dirt. Ramirez looks at the ball low. Twice he has flied to right field in this game. Strike inside corner. Blown away.
Ohlendorf this year started the year on the DL down in AAA, had a groin strain, slowed him during spring training as well. But their bullpen has been in the shambles. They've allowed 19 home runs this year out of the bullpen, more than any team.
At the knees, right bottom of the strike zone. Fly ball, right field. And Chu makes the catch. He's flied out all 3 times to right field.
I was going to say, you know, he's doing him a favor when he hits the ball in the air. He's not going to hit it out of the park. His job is to hit line drives, hit the ball on the ground, and utilize your speed. He does teams a favor when he hits it up there.
Ross Ohlendorf knows that all too well. Guy might be the smartest man in baseball. He went to Princeton. It says here he missed 1 question in the math portion of the SAT. 1. Wow. not sure I'd get one right.
Well, you figured it out today that those guys that have 50 hits going into this season have a chance to go over 200. That was right.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of that. I didn't even have to use my fingers to count. I'll tell you one thing you have to admire about Ohlendorf, because obviously this guy has the intelligence and the background that he could have chucked baseball a long time ago and gone into the private sector and probably be making a ton of money, but he has stuck with baseball throughout all the minor league stops and various reincarnations of his pitching style, and he works at 1, 2, 3, 6th inning. It's the first time the Indians have been retired in order today. And as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning, Prince Fielder, Adrian Beltre, and Mitch Moreland are due up. Fielder drove in a run in the 3rd.
With a big swing, and it had to fool Michael Bourne out there in center field off the end of the bat where it fell in front of him. And, you know, come to think of it, you know, who would have thought that was going to be it as of right now? A go-ahead run. Another one.
Bloops another one in the left field.
Another one. Right off the end of the bat, he gets it down, and this time it goes to left field. You see that ball running away off the plate, so the second straight hit by Fielder, and he gets in front of a Cleveland outfielder. That's hit number 4. For the Rangers. 3 singles and then that double by Moreland.
And Adrian Beltre takes a strike. He has singled, scored, and struck out.
He's working those feet again in the batter's box. This is the one guy that if you throw him the slow curveball, he'll go down to one knee, and I mean put a big old swing on it. But he moves around that batter's box a lot.
Beltre taking a page from Miguel Cabrera's playbook, and he pointed down to the umpire.
Before the umpire pointed down to the umpire. Nope, you check. Told you.
All three of them pointed down there at one point or another.
I'd like to have a caption for that one.
Which way did he go? Outside. 3 balls and a strike.
Yeah, he's got to come back and make a couple of good pitches here.
Strike on the inside corner.
There's one of them. Now one more to go. That was a good pitch. Looked like Beltre looking away. That ball leaks back over, and he jumps out of the way on that changeup on the inside part of the plate. He's got 1 to go.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. That's 7 now for Carlos Carrasco. 1 down in the 6th. Boy, did he come back and get a big strikeout when
he made a couple of real. That's the one I thought he was going to throw 3-1. That good fastball down and away, but he went with the changeup and then a good fastball, and he crossed up Adrian Beltre. That's a really good comeback for Carrasco.
Mitch Moreland, 1 for 2. Sends a fly ball to center. Back goes Bourne. Still going back. He's out of room and it's gone. That ball just kept carrying, and it just did clear the 404 mark in center field for a 2-run homer to make it a 4-1 Texas lead.
For Moreland, just his second home run on the year. He gets a fastball out over the plate. If you look at his first at-bat, he got a fastball out there he turned on. This one he goes straight away center field. And boy, that ball kept going. Bourne kept going back and going back. But it gets out of here. A 2-run home run. They make it a 4-1 ball game.
Hammered to left. Base hit by Andrus. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al. All right, here Mickey Callaway is going to go for a visit as the Indians get the bullpen busy. Mitch Moreland really hadn't done much in this series. He was 1 for 9 coming into today, but he hit one off the top of the fence in the second inning, so he very easily could have a 2-home run game. But his home run here in the 6th opens it up. Normally you wouldn't think a 4-1 lead, you'd blow your nose at that, but the way this game is unfolding today, it seems like a large deficit to overcome now for the Indians.
Well, they've had opportunities and base runners. I told you, you can slide through the first 5 or 6 innings in this ballpark and look like you're not going to score a lot, but I'll tell you, 7th, 8th, and 9th, a lot can happen, and there's a long way to go in this one with that Ranger bullpen. Carrasco just has to get out of this inning without allowing anything else.
Leonis Martin walked in the 4th, fly to left his first time up. Bounce to second. Kipnis goes to second. They get the force there. 2 down.
Watch, fastball away, and then he turned on it in his first at-bat. Just missed the home run by 3 or 4 inches. And then in his last home run, it's another fastball about the same spot. He went to center field on this one. He's hit both of them very well.
And a runner at first with 2 down now for Adam Rosales, who's 0 for 2. Martini back with a dive. Two and 0 the count. Tampa Bay whooping it up on Minnesota. They lead 11-1 in the 9th at Target Field. Carrasco with a 2-1. Runner goes. Swing and a miss. Throw down. Got him. Nice throw by Roberto Perez to erase Martin. Jeff Bannister may challenge. His player, Martin, is basically begging him to go ahead and challenge that out there at second base. So he's taking a long look in to his video guy. Joe West made the call.
2-1 count. You know you're going to try. It's a nice pitch to throw on. Yeah, they got him. Perez, yes. Kipnis tagged him. There it is. Before he got in there.
Still waiting. Waiting. And that's it. So the inning is over, but the Rangers get a 2-run homer from Mitch Moreland. And after 6, they lead it 4-1. Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Back here in Arlington, Rangers with a 4-1 lead. 7th inning, Tanner Shepard's now on the pitch for Texas out of that bullpen. David Murphy to lead off for the Tribe, takes a strike. Murphy's reached safely in 5 straight plate appearances going back to yesterday. He singled twice and walked in today's game. Popped up this time. Center fielder Leonis Martin will make the catch and down. There's our Yellowwood bringing the lumber for the day. And it's accounted for the Indians' only run. Michael Brantley's RBI double in the 5th. Brantley with 13 doubles, 22 runs batted in. He started the day 2nd in the American League in batting average, and he's raised it up to .351.
Shepard was recalled from Round Rock today. He started the year here with the Rangers. He had 5 relief appearances and was roughed up before he was optioned out. Opened the season on the 15-day disabled list. He had a right ankle sprain, but he's back again. A guy that has a pretty good arm, so I don't know if that ankle bothered him early in the year. They sent him down. He's back up again. And they need the help coming out of the bullpen.
Brantley rolls one to second base. And easy out here, 2 down. Enter now for a chance to win a trip to the All-Star game on Fox for you and 3 of your friends. Upload 2 photos at foxsports.com. Fantastic All-Star now through June 3rd. There's Lonnie Chisenhall 0 for 3.
Yeah, all 3 times today he has had runners on and a chance to do some damage between him and Moss. The Indians have left 9 on in this ball game so far.
To first. Tanner Shepard takes care of the Indians with ease. That's 7 in a row set down now by Texas pitching. We reach the 7th inning stretch brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. It's the Rangers 4 and the Indians 1.
the Indians 4-1 as we go into the bottom of the 7th. And we know baseball runs deep in the families of Terry Francona and one Prince Fielder. How deeply do these two run? Look at that guy throwing batting practice. That's Terry Francona, the manager of the Indians, way back when he was coaching Detroit, throwing batting practice to Prince Fielder. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this up there, but in a little while, Prince shows not only can he swing it from the left side, but he was even swinging from the right side at a younger age going against Terry. Guys, that just tells you how deep baseball runs in both of these families, that Terry's been throwing to Prince Fielder for years after years here during the baseball season.
That Prince Fielder, the switch hitter.
Well, he leaves nothing in the bag from either side of the plate. That started a long time ago. When he swings it, he means it. He swings it with authority. Now, here's the one. Let's look at him. Split screen. When he was a youngster to when he swings it now. He's tightened it up a little bit.
Frighteningly similar, though.
Well, look at him. He jumps back.
Adam Rosales was at the plate when Leonis Martin was thrown out trying to steal to end the 6th. Well, as Carrasco deals a swing and a miss. Michael Bourne in center field will make the catch. 1 down.
Well, season tickets offer the best perks, including savings and access to Tribe Rewards. Today's Tribe Rewards TV code is Lonnie. Go to Indians.com.
Robinson Chirinos. 0 for 2 today, has struck out, popped up on the infield. Out of play to the right. To right field, over near the line. Long run for Swisher, and it's going to go foul. Right in front of the pole. Save the camera. The 0-2. Chirinos' check did not go around, says first base umpire Rob Drake. Got him. Locked him up. 8 strikeouts for Carrasco, 2 down in the 7th.
Comes back with a good slider and it sort of locks him up. Chirinos, he took that swing anyways. I'm not going down looking. He said, I'm getting it up by late, right? It was a little tardy, but at least he got a hack in there before he left.
And now Shin-Soo Choo has struck out twice, walked and scored in the 3rd. Up the corner for strike 1. And he waved to the slider down and in. 0-2.
Yeah, and Carrasco on the day, that was pitch number 100. 68 strikes. So again, pounding the strike zone. He has walked 2.
Strikes him out on 3 pitches to end the inning. 9 Ks for Carrasco. Rangers go 1-2-3 for the 3rd time in the ball game, but they still lead it 4-1. To retransmit it in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Eighth inning, Brandon Moss to lead it off for Cleveland takes low ball one. Moss, Nick Swisher, Michael Bourne due for the Tribe here in the eighth. Tanner Shepard has worked a 1-2-3-7. Back out here for the eighth. Bullpen quiet for Texas. Moss chops one into the shift. One down. As promised earlier, it's Miller time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's go back to 06. Kevin Kuzma steps into the box for his first at bat in the bigs. Goodbye. And guess what? The bases were loaded.
We remember that well. He was called up because Hafner was hit in the face the day before, who had what do you have, 6 grand slams on the year?
Yeah.
And I think that was grand slam number 12 for the Indians. They had added one more before the year was over. Yeah, Kuzminoff, his first at bat at grand slam. His parents made it just in time, didn't they? They got into the to the house just in time to see it.
Nick Swisher swinging a miss, and it's 0-2. The 1-2 pitch to Swisher inside, and the count evens up. The 2-2. Bounce to first. Easy play here for the first baseman, Moreland. 2 down. Stay tuned for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Michael Bourne, 1 for 3 on the day. 3 for 7 in the series. Outside, he misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bourne sends a fly ball to right center field. Chu on the move. The right fielder's there. Makes the catch. The Indians go in order yet again. It's 10 in a row set down by the Rangers staff. Rangers on top 4-1. Delino DeShields will lead it off. Carlos Carrasco sitting at 100 pitches on the day. Right back up the middle and through. First hit of the game for DeShields. Only the 7th hit for Texas. But they've got their leadoff man aboard for Prince Fielder.
Well, I don't know if he wants to bring in a left-hander here or what he wants to do. Guy can run at first base. Got the right-hander Beltre on deck.
Fielder's blooped a couple in, but he hasn't really had any good swings off Carrasco. Close play at first, and DeShields just did beat the tag him off.
No, that's good. You have to keep your eye on him. He's stolen 9 out of 10 bases this year. It's getting closer and closer. He's getting back, but I mean that's what good base. You watch his lead when he gets back. I mean, he's barely getting back. He knows that's is his maximum lead right there that he can get out to, and he's got a very nice lead.
Ooh, just off the outside corner.
Fielder, a guy though, he usually gets aggressive early in the count. He doesn't take many.
One was a ball, one was a strike. They were very similar, and the count evens up. Oh. Swung out and missed. Good pitch by Carrasco as he fooled Fielder.
Came in there with a changeup. Gets him to swing over the top of that one.
Runner goes. And the pitch is called a ball, and the throw is offline. So DeShields has the steal, his 10th of the year.
And you can see when a guy that can run gets a pretty good jump, everything's got to be perfect. It was a tough pitch to throw. Perez did a great job of just picking that ball. So he wasn't going to come up and make a great throw. That's good speed, and guys like that will steal their share of bases. He has 10 out of 11 now. But that's not going to change the approach by Prince Fielder. He's going to be up there hacking.
Thought a chased one helped him out there. Stays 2-2.
But you say he's not a guy. He's not going to put it in the umpire's hand. If you remember, first 2 pitches in the count, one was a strike, one was a ball. They were both in about the same spot. You can't let that guy in the blue be the judge on a close pitch with 2 strikes in a situation like this. You have to sometimes expand your zone. Well, he got it done.
Gets the runner over to third. 1 away. up is Adrian Beltre. Mickey Callaway and Terry Francona talking it over in the dugout. And looks like they're going to stay with Carrasco here to face Beltre.
Yeah, he's been able to get him his last 2 times up. Swing and a miss. Let the infield come in. He did get a single in his first at bat. Hung him a breaking ball.
Deep left, Murphy back, he's running out of room. Makes a terrific catch up against the wall in left field. But tagging and scoring is DeShields. 5-1 Texas.
Nice play by Murph.
Sure was.
I'll tell you what, it almost, when I looked down, I saw him catch the ball, and I'm sure DeShields, it may have come off the fence first. It looked like it hit the fence. See, he goes back. Let's see.
No,
he gets his leather out there. That is a catch. Almost looked like it hit off the fence and went right in his glove, but he did not. That's a nice play.
Looks like he's going to challenge this, though.
That's not. Why not? You got nothing to lose.
So they will take a look at it, but our replay showed pretty clearly, I think, that Murphy's glove was between the ball and the wall. So there was no assistance by the wall.
Watch this. No, his glove gets back there. It's up on the wall and right into the webbing. That's a great play. Times like he's no stranger to this wall. He's played out there a number of years. It's unfortunate because Carrasco needed a strike out there, tried to hold it, and it looked like a high breaking ball that first pitch, and Beltre jumped on it. And then probably go as a sacrifice fly, but
yeah.
You know, that unfortunately it's one more run for Texas.
Yeah, they lead it now 5-1 as the Rangers have extended the lead regardless of the outcome of their replay, which it's going to be a catch. It's going to be a sac fly and an RBI.
Right. It was just a good play all the way around by David Murphy. You give the sacrifice fly.
And so the batter will be Mitch Moreland. And it looks like it's going to probably be Carrasco to try to get the final out of the inning. But it's all going to fall on the offense now, down 4 runs with only 3 outs to give. And looking ahead, it's Roberto Perez, Jose Ramirez, and then the top of the order in Jason Kipnis. So Tribe has their work cut out for them. Why in the world would this take more than 5 seconds?
Well, from everything, every angle we looked at, I mean, the first one we looked at,
look at it one time, it's a catch. I understand you want to get it right, but that ball's in his glove. Glove's between the wall.
Yeah, exactly. It was between the wall, and that ball went in the webbing. He's out. Well, we knew that. So sacrifice fly, add on a run. It's a 5-1 ball game.
They're going to allow Carrasco a warm-up pitch. That doesn't make any sense either.
What's that?
Call stands. It has to be confirmed. You saw the ball clearly go into the guy's glove. There's Mitch Moreland, 2-run homer in the 6th. He doubled in the 2nd, just missing his chance to have a 2-home run game. Indians are going to appeal.
You know, I looked down there thinking they weren't going to see it either. It looked like he left, but obviously he didn't. Everybody was looking out at Murphy catching that ball, but I looked down and he was about halfway down. I'm sure he was fine.
Boy, that was a terrific, I think it was a changeup. Terrific pitch there. 1-1 to count. Moreland was trying to hit his third ball to the fence today.
Well, he picked on a couple of fastballs from Carrasco.
One of the rare times you see in a game of baseball where hitters get to face a pitcher 4 times. Moreland's going to bounce it to first. Moss will take it himself. And the inning is over. But Texas gets a big insurance run. And we go to the ninth. 5-1 Rangers. And Total Car Care coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Looking back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians trying to get off to a fast start. They had the opportunities. They were there. 2 on, 1 out in the first, did not score. They had no 1-out base runner in the second inning, couldn't get anything rolling there. 2 on, nobody out in the third inning, did not score. And then bases loaded situation in the fifth fizzled out. They managed their only run of the game in that inning. Carrasco pitched okay, not great, but okay.
Well, you know, when you score early, it makes a difference.
I mean, this is a ballpark where you give up 4 or 5. That's a good night game, I think.
I would, yeah.
There's Zach Walters pinch hitting to lead off in the ninth, and Sean Tollison trying to close this one out for Texas. Not a save situation with a 4-run gap, but making a 17th appearance of the year. You have to wonder if the Indians get a couple of base runners on, would Jeff Bannister go back to his closer Neftali Feliz after what happened last night?
That's why I hope they get a couple base runners. We'll find out.
Yeah. Up high. And here we go. It's 3-0 for Zach Walters.
That's what you want. You want that first runner aboard, setting the table. Got to take 2 here. You got to find a way to get on first. There you go. Okay, take another one.
Swings through it, full count.
Well, see, I'm old school. I believe, you know, when you're hitting 083, you're 1 for 12. You get a 3-0 count. You're leading off. You're down 4 runs. You got to take them 2 to get on base. You're going to get 1 swing anyway. If he hits,
Strikes him out. Wallner strikes out for the 7th time in 13 at bats. Comes back from a 3-0 count to get the strikeout. Pat O'Brien play of the game. Home run by Mitch Moreland. Took it from a 2-1 game to a 4-1 game. That was a killer.
Yeah, his 2nd home run of the year.
After 3 straight balls, 4 consecutive strikes for Sean Tolleson.
11 straight Indians have gone down. It's that final out in the 5th inning.
Well, not only that, Rick, but you think about it. When Michael Brantley hit the RBI double that gave the Indians the only run of the game, the only guy to reach since then was the intentional walk to Swisher.
Right. They've been shut down ever since.
Swing and a foul. Got a piece of that. If Ramirez could reach, Jason Kipnis, top of the order, right behind him. But he's going to have to work hard now, down 0-2. Punches it towards left field. Will it drop? On the move, DeShields makes the catch. 2 away. Boy, Jose Ramirez is 0 for 4 today, and he has flied out all 4 times. And so the Indians' last hope to keep the game alive is Jason Kipnis, who was hit by a pitch in the 3rd, walked and scored in the 5th. Back out of play. Just outside, 1-1. Right back up the middle, and Kipnis will indeed keep the game alive for the Tribe as he gets his first hit of the game. His 8th hit in the series.
Well, he keeps his streak alive, too. Now that's 8 straight games where he's been on base 3 times or more.
No Indian since 1914 has done that.
I mean, you're looking to win the game, but he's done his part. He was hit in the 3rd, he walked in the 5th, and he singles in the 9th.
And now David Murphy. 2 hits and a walk on the day. Swing and a miss. Kipnis goes down to second base. And that'll be indifference. Foul back. 0-2 the count. 2,189, most of them on their feet here in Arlington. The 0-2 to Murphy. Swing and a miss, strikes him out to end the game. Rangers salvage the finale as the Indians fall short in their quest for a sweep. Final score is Texas 5 and Cleveland 1 as Nick Martinez gets the win to go to 3-0 on the year for Texas. Carlos Carrasco, the tough luck loser for the Tribe, falling to 4-4. Win pushes the Rangers to 16 and 22. Indians leave town 14 and 22. Texas bullpen really shut the Indians down here late. Any chance they had to come back, they just didn't give them any breathing room. Only one hit for the Tribe over the final 4 innings of the game here this afternoon. We'll be back with some final thoughts from Arlington right after this.